Piss and Vinegar Day 102, traps, neck, and calves. Not sure if I'm going bald. The back of my head, I can't tell if that's a bald spot enough. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't. It might just be the way my hairline sits, or the way my hair kind of, the way my hair follicles grow or whatever. But I keep looking at the back of it when I'm doing traps, and I'm like, am I going bald? And it fucks with my head. And I mean, if I go bald, it don't matter, but sometimes I see that little bald spot at the back of the head, and that's the worst place to go bald. Like, if you start receding from the front, like the Norwood 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the fuck, that's one thing. But the dudes that go bald from the back of their head, that's dysgenic as fuck. Like, it's something not so cool about that. So if that happens to me, I'm gonna be pretty fucking pissed off. But anyway, if I go bald, I go bald. I'm gonna hold onto my hair to the deer end. I don't give a fuck. If I go bald, I'll hold every single strand, because I think in life you should be defiant against the inevitable, or accept it, but at the same time be defiant. But anyway, today's topic is criticism and tolerance. So, natural hypertrophy posted a video. Sometimes I watch his videos, sometimes I don't. I like the guy. I think his general message is good, even if I don't think he's correct a lot of the times. But I just generally like the guy. I think he's real. He's a real one. And he made a video today about tolerance, which I didn't watch, but I thought, yeah, that's a cool topic, so I thought, fuck it, I'll do it too. I'd imagine we probably align in very similar ways, because I think he's kind of he's very much a stoic, logical thinker also. It's kind of cringe to say that, but anyway, today is criticism and tolerance. So they tie in together, and I'll start with criticism, and then I'll use an example of yesterday. I made a video. I was doing side lateral raises. I was doing shoulders, and someone commented below saying, he was criticizing my side lateral raises and a few other things. And my initial reaction was, oh, fuck, this guy's a hater. But then 5-10 seconds into just, trying to get my emotions out and thinking about it logically, I was like, no, he's fucking correct. Like, he was saying my side lateral raises were cheated. And it's true, they were being cheated. And I was already thinking about this when I was editing the video, that I'm kind of cheating my side laterals a bit too much the last few sessions. So initially, I went to the first reaction that a lot of people have with criticism, which is defensiveness. But defensiveness is feminine. And even if someone's wrong, which he wasn't, defensiveness is kind of gay. You should always be modest and try to react very logically, because a lot of times they'll be right anyway, or some of the time the criticism will be right or half right. And even if it's flat out wrong, like if this was a skinny 17-year-old twink at the gym telling me I was doing shrugs too controlled, and I need to use more weight or something, I don't know, like whatever the critique was, if it's a 17-year-old skinny kid telling me this shit, even if, and they're wrong, I'd be likely to be like, oh, I'm gonna get fucking angry at this guy. I would be angry, but even then you should be calm and just be like, okay, thank you for the criticism, but I think you're wrong, and then just move on with your day. But this guy was correct. On top of that, he was an older guy who was more jacked and leaner than me. So not only was he not some 17-year-old skinny kid, he was genuine. He looked better, and he was older than me. So he's probably, more experienced and has a better physique. So he can, back up his criticism. So he was correct. But then the next two things he said, neither of us are correct. It was contextual. So the next thing he said was slow my rep speeds down. And had he watched a lot of my other videos, he'd understand contextually that I actually do a lot of slow reps. Like these shrugs that I do right here, these are slow and controlled. I do different speeds for different exercises depending on the exercise. So for the first shrug, I do really heavy, explosive, no control at all to get a massive stretch reflex in the traps. And then these shrugs, I do slow and controlled to get more of a contraction. On the side lateral raises, I don't do them slow control because I can't get a good contraction at the top, and I get much more trap and rotator cuff activation when I do slow. But he doesn't know this, and I could then be like, hey, get all angry and defend myself and be like, well, this is why I actually do it. Or I could kindly explain why I did it. But in this case, I just kind of ignored it, because it's just a waste of time on both of our ends trying to explain why I do this. There's no reason. If I know the reason and I know I'm correct in my reasoning to do something, there's no need to be defensive. There's no need to even have a discussion about it, because it probably didn't mean a hell of a lot either. He was just being a good dude, giving me some criticism, And one of the criticisms was correct. The next two criticisms didn't apply to me, but again, it was contextual. For someone else, it would have potentially been good criticism. He said, straighten my arms when I do side lateral raises. And for some people, that would be a good idea. That would actually allow them to contract their side laterals or their side delts more efficiently. In my case, that's not how it works. I have to bend my arms because it allows me to get a better squeeze contraction at the top and allows me to make sure my traps and rotator cuffs once again don't get activated. So neither of us are right. It's just he didn't have the context. And that's kind of my point, is just don't get too defensive when people criticize you. Try to stay stoic and try to see the logic in what they're saying. If sometimes, or a lot of times, people will actually genuinely be onto something. Otherwise, they wouldn't be criticizing you. Or at least, if you can tell someone's coming from a place of genuine altruism, like in this guy's case, he was being a good dude. He wasn't being, negative. He was just trying to give me some positive feedback. So yeah, and at the same time, though, you don't want to be too tolerant of criticism, because let's say, for example, I was the 17-year-old skinny kid, right? And this guy gave me the criticism of straightening my arms on side lateral raises. And I knew within myself personally that that's not good advice for me specifically, albeit could be good advice for someone else. But for me, that's not good advice, because I need to bend my arms to allow me to contract my side lateral or side delts better. But because he's bigger, older, and stronger and all these different things or whatever, like just he had a better physique, 17-year-old me might have went, well, regardless of my own, regardless of my own experience and understanding of myself, because this guy's bigger and has a better physique, he must be right. So let me straighten my arms. And then all of a sudden you start doing something that's inferior for you because someone else told you to do it. So you can't be too tolerant of criticism. You have to analyze it for what it is. Take from the criticism the good parts, and then ignore the parts that aren't necessarily applying to you. And again, this is no hate on the guy. This guy just was doing what he thought was best, and in one case, he was actually straight up correct. But this doesn't even necessarily have to apply to exercise. It could be so many different things. People will critique you through life. People will be in disagreement of your ideologies or your politics or whatever it is. And if you're too tolerant, you will give in. And if you're not confident in your ideals or confident, or you don't believe in what you're doing, then you'll just straight up give in. And you might be not confident in the things you believe in because they're straight up wrong. If you're wrong, then yeah, be open-minded. In this case, this guy was right about the side lateral raises, and I saw his logic, and his logic trumped any flawed logic that would be like, no, I'm going to do them cheated, and thus he was correct. But in the case of religion or your politics, if you have logic and facts to back up the reason you're doing something or you believe something, someone critiques it, you won't give in. Because if you were then to discuss with that person the reason why you believe that or why they don't believe in that, they'll oftentimes give you emotions and no facts, just anecdotes and emotions. If you can then give them facts and hard, cold logic, you're not only more likely to be correct, because humans will never be 100% correct in life, ever. Unfortunately, we're not omniscient. But there is a yes and no answer to everything. And if you apply logic as introspectively and, as diligently as you possibly can, you'll be more likely to be correct than wrong. You won't always be correct, but if you're always assuming that you're not correct, you'll be a emotional and spiritual grifter or fence sitter, and you'll stand for nothing. And people will be able to manipulate you really easily and just push your thoughts around all the time, and you'll never really hold any beliefs that are worth anything. Now, if you start holding beliefs in emotions, you'll be wrong. So you have to hold these thoughts and beliefs and whatever they are with logic, so you're more likely to be correct, and that way you will know who you are. If you don't hold belief systems, you will not know who you are. And obviously, these belief systems can break if your belief is fundamentally flawed, and if you discuss with someone and they just break your fucking belief system with logic, then yeah, you might straight up be wrong and it'd be time to change, like in the side lateral raise example. Although I was under no impression that I was right there either, but just using that as an example. But at the same time, that you got to take that with a grain of salt, because you could have an argument with a communist and they tell you how good communism is. And if they are way older, way more intelligent than you, they can give you a pretty good fucking, a pretty good manipulative, psycho indoctrination as to why communism is an excellent ideology, because you're a 17-year-old kid and you don't know any better. So obviously, if you're not experienced or you don't have the intelligence, someone could definitely knock you off your horse, and even though you're correct in said ideology or whatever it is, or you're most likely to be correct because you're not experienced enough or smart enough, you get someone else kicking you off your horse. So then you have to almost be a little bit belligerent and just have faith that your idea works, right? Because again, if you don't have any faith or you have no logic behind your rhyme and reason, then you stand for nothing. And even if you're wrong, it's better than standing for nothing. You know what I mean? I'm rambling hard here, and I might be straight up fucking wrong in this assessment in myself, but hopefully you can read between the lines and understand that if you're experienced enough and you've researched enough and you've applied logic enough to the things that you believe in, then you will be able to stay steadfast in those opinions, and you'll know who you are. This is why you shouldn't stand for something that you don't know anything about. If I was to start fucking rambling and critiquing, say, a biochemist about their field of work, I'd be a fucking lunatic. And that person would so easily be able to stay steadfast in their opinions because they would know for a fact they're right and I'm for fact fucking retarded. In the same way that if 17-year-old kid comes up to me, starts critiquing me in the gym when I have studied exercise science and I've been working out for far longer and I have the physical body proof to prove that I know what I'm doing, I'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, I'd be easily able to stand on my 2 feet and argue and, stay steadfast in my opinions or what is a fact. But again, you have to have some open-mindedness, because then if the 45-year-old dude in my comment section who's got a fucking sick physique starts critiquing certain things, and I look introspectively and realize that I am indeed wrong, then you have to be willing to change. But you can't be too tolerant. I've basically I could sum it up by very easily saying, be open to potentially being wrong, but don't be too tolerant of opinions, especially if they don't seem remotely logical or correct. So, in short, I could have basically just said that rather than rambling. But hopefully you can take that kind of tidbit and apply it to your own life. Because especially for a man, you have to be somewhat closed-minded. Otherwise, you become too tolerant of all these different things, and ideologies and things that are wrong start taking hold over society and life and your own life, and it fucking sucks. So anyway, mad rambling today. Hopefully you guys hopefully that resonates. See you guys tomorrow for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye bye.